Chapter 1. The Eerie Encounter. As the clock struck midnight, Emily walked alone down a deserted street. The eerie silence sent shivers down her spine, and she quickened her pace, hoping to reach home soon. "Is someone there?" Emily called out, her voice trembling with apprehension. No response came except for the sound of her rapid breathing. She picked up her pace, casting furtive glances over her shoulder as she hurried along the empty street. Suddenly, she heard footsteps echoing behind her, growing louder with each passing second. Her heart raced as she tried to shake off the dread that gripped her. "Who's there?" Emily asked again, her voice tinged with fear. Still, there was no reply, only the echoing footsteps that seemed to follow her every move. With each step, the sense of unease intensified until it felt like the darkness was closing in around her. Unable to bear it any longer, Emily broke into a run, her footsteps echoing in her ears. She dared not look back, afraid of what she might see lurking in the shadows. Finally, she reached the safety of her home, heart pounding and breathless. As she locked the door behind her, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had narrowly escaped something sinister lurking in the darkness. Chapter 2. The Haunted House. Passing by an old abandoned mansion, Emily felt drawn to its decrepit facade. Ignoring the warning bells in her mind, she approached the imposing gates and pushed them open. "This place gives me the creeps," Emily muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of decay, and every creaking floorboard sent her pulse racing. As she explored the dimly lit rooms, strange shadows danced on the walls, whispering secrets of a bygone era. "Hello?" Emily called out, her voice echoing through the empty halls. There was no response, only the eerie silence of the abandoned mansion. Undeterred, Emily pressed on, her curiosity overpowering her fear. As she ventured deeper into the house, she stumbled upon a staircase leading down into darkness. With a mixture of trepidation and curiosity, she descended into the depths below. The air grew colder with each step, and Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she reached the bottom of the staircase. Before she stood a door, its surface covered in strange symbols and markings. What could be behind here? Emily wondered aloud, her voice trembling with uncertainty. Summoning all her courage, she reached out and pushed open the door, revealing a hidden chamber bathed in an eerie glow. As she stepped inside, she felt a chill run down her spine, realizing she had stumbled upon something beyond her wildest nightmares. Chapter 3. The Mysterious Stranger. In the depths of the mansion, Emily stumbled upon a hidden chamber, its walls adorned with cryptic symbols. Before she could decipher their meaning, a figure emerged from the shadows, a mysterious stranger cloaked in darkness. "Who are you?" Emily demanded, her voice quivering with fear. The stranger's eyes gleamed with an otherworldly intensity, and Emily felt a chill run down her spine as he beckoned her closer. "I've been expecting you," he said, his voice sending shivers down her spine. "What do you want from me?" Emily asked, her heart racing with unease. The stranger's lips curled into a sinister smile. "There are forces at play here that you cannot comprehend," he replied cryptically. "But you have a part to play in this game, whether you choose to or not." Emily's mind raced with questions, but before she could speak, the stranger vanished into the shadows, leaving her alone in the chamber. As she stood there, trying to understand what had just happened, Emily realized that she had stumbled upon something far more sinister than she could have ever imagined. Chapter 4. The Ghostly Apparition. Trapped in the stranger's gaze, Emily felt a presence looming behind her. Turning slowly, she came face to face with a ghostly apparition, its ethereal form flickering in the dim light. "Who are you?" Emily whispered, her voice barely above a breath. The specter reached out a translucent hand, its touch sending a chill down Emily's spine. "I am the guardian of this house," the apparition spoke, its voice echoing as if from another realm. "And you, Emily, are in grave danger." Emily's heart raced with fear as she struggled to comprehend the gravity of the situation. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty. But before the specter could respond, it vanished into thin air, leaving Emily in the haunted chamber once more. With each passing moment, the sense of foreboding grew more robust, and Emily knew that she had to uncover the truth behind the mansion's mysteries before it was too late. Chapter 5. The Race Against Time. With every instinct screaming at her to flee, Emily knew she had to escape the haunted mansion before it consumed her soul. Racing against the encroaching darkness, she navigated the labyrinthine corridors, pursued by unseen forces hell-bent on keeping her trapped within its cursed walls. "Come back, Emily." A chilling voice echoed through the halls, sending shivers down her spine. Ignoring the eerie whispers, Emily pressed on, her heart pounding with each step. As she reached the grand staircase, she felt a sudden gust of wind, as if the mansion itself were trying to thwart her escape. But Emily refused to be deterred, her determination outweighing her fear. "I won't let you hold me prisoner," Emily shouted defiantly, her voice echoing through the empty halls. With renewed resolve, she raced down the staircase, each step bringing her closer to freedom. But as she reached the front door, she felt a cold hand grasp her shoulder, pulling her back into the darkness. "No!" Emily screamed, struggling against the unseen force. But just as suddenly as it had appeared, the presence vanished, leaving Emily trembling but alive. With one last glance at the haunted mansion, Emily fled into the night, vowing never to return. Chapter 6. The Revelation. At last, Emily stumbled upon a hidden passage leading to freedom. As she emerged into the moonlit night, she felt a sense of relief wash over her, but the memory of her harrowing ordeal lingered like a shadow in her mind. With trembling hands, she vowed never to return to that accursed mansion again. "I made it out," Emily whispered, barely above a murmur. But what horrors lurked within those walls? With a heavy heart, she turned away from the mansion, its silhouette fading into the darkness behind her. As she walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, as if the spirits of the past were still haunting her every step. But Emily refused to let fear consume her. With each passing moment, she grew stronger, determined to leave the nightmare behind and embrace the light of a new day. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Emily found herself filled with a newfound sense of hope. Though the memory of the haunted mansion would always linger in her mind, she knew that she had emerged from the darkness more vital than ever before. Chapter 7. The Lingering Mystery. Though Emily had escaped the clutches of the haunted mansion, the mysteries it held continued to haunt her dreams. As she tried to move on with her life, she couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows of the night still watched her every move, waiting to draw her back into their sinister embrace. "I thought leaving that place would end the nightmares," Emily confided to her friend Claire over a cup of coffee at their favorite cafe. "But the memories seem to have a life of their own, haunting me at every turn." Claire nodded sympathetically, reaching out to grasp Emily's hand in a gesture of support. "Sometimes the scars of the past take time to heal," she offered. "But you're strong, Emily. You survived the horrors of that mansion, and you'll overcome this, too." Despite Claire's reassuring words, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled in the pit of her stomach. The mystery of the mansion's dark secrets still loomed large in her mind, and she knew that until she found answers, the shadows would continue to linger. The language and narrative structure of Shadows of the Night story align with an A1 English level, characterized by its simplicity and accessibility to beginner English learners. Here's an analysis of how the story fits within this level, with explanations and examples. 1. Simple sentence structure. The story predominantly utilizes straightforward sentence structures, making it easy for A1 learners to follow along. For instance, Emily walks along a silent street and she quickens her pace, stealing furtive glances over her shoulder. 2. Basic vocabulary. The vocabulary used is fundamental and commonly understood, ensuring comprehension for A1 learners. Words like Darkness, eerie, and home are familiar and easy to grasp for beginners. 3. Limited tense complexity. The narrative primarily employs simple present tense, which is typical for A1 level learners. For example, Emily walks, Emily feels, and Emily knows. 4. Direct speech and dialogue. Dialogues are presented clearly and straightforwardly, using direct speech. For instance, "Who are you?" Emily demands, her voice quivering with apprehension. This simplicity aids A1 learners in understanding dialogue structure. 5. Repetition for reinforcement. Certain phrases and vocabulary are repeated throughout the story, reinforcing understanding for A1 learners. For example, the repeated use of Emily helps learners associate the protagonist with the narrative. Overall, the story is tailored to A1 English learners, offering a comprehensible narrative with simple sentence structures, basic vocabulary, and minimal grammatical complexity. These features facilitate understanding and engagement for individuals at the beginner level of English proficiency. Next, here are a few English words with their explanations and examples for English learners. 1. Eerie. Eerie means something is spooky or strange, making you feel uneasy or scared. It's like the feeling you get when something doesn't seem right. Example: the eerie silence of the night felt spooky and made her feel scared because it seemed unnatural. 2. Decrepit. Decrepit describes something very old and in bad condition. It's like when a building is apart because it's been neglected for a long time. Example: the old mansion looked decrepit because it was so old and falling apart, with broken windows falling and crumbling walls. 3. Cryptic. Cryptic means something is mysterious and hard to understand, like a secret code or message that's difficult to decipher. Example: the symbols on the wall were cryptic because they were strange and hard to understand, leaving Emily confused. 4. Otherworldly. Otherworldly describes something that seems like it's from a different world, or not from this world at all. It's like something you'd see in a fantasy or science fiction story. Example: the stranger's gaze seemed otherworldly because it felt like it wasn't from this world, making Emily feel uneasy. 5. Apparition. An apparition is a ghostly figure or something that seems supernatural. It's like seeing a ghost suddenly appear out of nowhere. Example: Emily couldn't believe her eyes when she saw the ghostly apparition because it seemed like something from a ghost story. 6. Labyrinthine. Labyrinthine describes something that is like a confusing maze, with lots of twists and turns that make it hard to find your way around. Example: the mansion's interior was labyrinthine because it had so many confusing hallways that seemed to lead nowhere, making it hard for Emily to navigate. 7. Harrowing. Harrowing means something is really scary or upsetting, like going through a dangerous or a traumatic experience that leaves you feeling scared and shaken. Example: Emily's escape from the haunted mansion was harrowing because it was so scary and she felt like she was in danger the whole time. 8. Sinister. Sinister describes something that feels evil or threatening, especially when it's hidden or lurking in the shadows. Example: the sinister presence in the shadows filled Emily with dread because it felt like something bad was about to happen. 9. Accursed. Accursed means something is cursed or brings bad luck, like a place or object that's believed to be doomed or brings misfortune. Example: Emily vowed never to return to the accursed mansion because she believed it was cursed and brought nothing but bad luck. 10. Embrace. Embrace in this context means to surround or envelop something completely. Here, it's used metaphorically to describe how darkness seemed to envelop or surround Emily, making her feel trepid. Example: the sinister shadows seemed to embrace Emily, pulling her deeper into the darkness and making her feel trepid and scared. From this suspenseful tale, readers can learn several things. 1. Trusting one's instincts. Emily's intuition guides her throughout her ordeal, highlighting the importance of trusting one's instincts in times of danger. 2. Facing fears. Emily confronts her fears head-on, demonstrating courage and resilience in the face of adversity. 3. Letting go. Despite the lingering mystery of the haunted mansion, Emily ultimately chooses to let go of the past and move forward with her life, showing the importance of releasing negative experiences and embracing the present. This story and voiceover have been provided by English Made Easy. Learn through stories. Copying or re-uploading is strictly prohibited.